Howdy, y'all. Welcome to the Beverly Hillbillies Facts and Trivia. Y'all kick off your shoes and you said a spell, all right? Now here's your host for the show, the old Kentucky boy himself, Mr. Bob Snap.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Beverly Hillbillies Facts and Trivia. Appreciate you being here. Today's video is on Miss Donna Douglas. This video kind of tells of how she got into the acting and how she succeeded at it through her faith in God. And it's kind of done in her words. Kind of like the Buddy Ebsen thing yesterday. And if you missed the Buddy Ebsen thing yesterday, get over there and watch it, because I'm serious, you'll want to see that. Not as much as you want to see this one, and you'll want to see this one, believe me. And you'll want to share it out too. I just know you guys will. Let's get to it. Donna Douglas, the actress best known as Ellie Mae Clampett, reveals how God met her halfway in her pursuit of an acting career. I stood looking around the airport in Newark, New Jersey, trying not to panic. It was early 1960s. I was a young girl and just arrived from Baton Rouge, Louisiana, hoping for an acting career in New York City. I made a terrible mistake. An acquaintance had promised to meet me at the airport, but nobody told me that there was 3 airports served in New York City. I'd originally had tickets to LaGuardia, but at the last minute the ticket agent switched me to another flight. He didn't mention I'd be arriving at a different airport. Believe me, I was afraid, but I'd been brought up in church, and I remembered what the Bible said. Faith is the substance of things hoped for and the evidence of things not seen. To me, in plain language, that meant faith is when you trust God, even though you can't see what's a-coming around the corner. So I said a little prayer, and I sat down to wait. I was thankful when I didn't show up at LaGuardia, and my friend figured out what had happened and was able to track me down. I'd never been so happy to see anybody in my life. I didn't know at the time, but that was just one of the many corners that would be upcoming in my life. A few days later, alone in my hotel room, I was about out of courage. I come to New York to find work, but how did I expect to find a job in Manhattan? I hadn't gone to college, and had never had any acting lesson in my life. I'd done a speck of modeling in Louisiana. I could throw a mean curveball. I'd even been approached about playing semi-pro softball, and had some experience fishing and milking cows. These were far from talents that would get me hired as an actress. Top of that, people teased me about my southern accent. I, of course, thought they were the ones who talked funny. Back home in Louisiana, everyone had a drawl like mine. Fortunately, some photographers decided to give me a break and hired me to do ads for catalogs and magazines. This led to a few TV commercials where I smiled a lot, and I never said a word. Finally, I had a call to audition for a TV game show. The job was an elbow grabber, one of the hostesses who bring the contestants out and presents them to the host. If I'd got the position, I'd have steady work, bread and butter money, and national exposure, and once again, I wouldn't have to say a word. The day of my audition, I was shown to the office of the show's producer and was thrown for a loop by what came next. "We're looking for a certain kind of girl," he said. "Are you willing to do some extra work after hours?" Warning bells went off in my head. "What does that mean?" I asked. "Would you be willing to go out with one of our sponsors?" "Would the sponsor be married?" I asked. "What does it matter? You're just going out to dinner." "No, sir," I said emphatically. "I could not do that." The producer shifted in his chair. Disappointment overwhelmed me. I'd heard there were girls who were willing to do anything to get work, and I had tears in my eyes. "Mister," I said, standing up, "I don't want your job. It's not that important to me," and I walked out. I was mighty surprised when I heard I got the job. It turned out there had recently been a big expose of dishonest game shows, and the producer had to be very careful about anyone he hired. He's been trying to find a girl who wouldn't do anything questionable. Not long after that, I was asked to go to California to do a screen test at Paramount. Folks back home couldn't believe it when I told them I got a movie contract. But since I had little experience and was not good at bluffing, I got only small parts. Wanted to better myself, so I took acting and speech lessons from a coach who taught me to act and talk like everyone from a working girl to a refined lady. So I hoped I was ready when I went off to be interviewed for a pilot for a new television series. I wanted this part so much it seemed like everything I'd worked and prayed for. When I did my reading, the producer smiled and told me I seemed like a real possibility for the part. She said she'd get back to me as soon as possible, and I couldn't speak. I just nodded my head and up and down, and I was so thrilled I thought my heart would pop wide open. On the way home, I was scheduled to take my car in for an oil change. I'd arranged for the mechanic at the garage to drop me off home, then take my car back to service it. He was at the wheel, and I was in the passenger seat, and as we waited at the red light when a large Bentley ran into us from behind. Mechanic was okay, but I ended up in the hospital for 17 days. During that time, the producer of the television pilot interviewed more than 500 girls for that part. They selected 6 for screen tests. I was one of them. It was wonderful news, except for the fact that I was supposed to show up for a screen test in 3 days. This was sure one corner I couldn't see around. Please, God, I prayed from the hospital bed, let me have a chance at this. Woozy but determined, I went to that screen test. On my way over, I couldn't help thinking of all the sophisticated actresses I was up against. Ones who had a lot of experience and none of whom were wobbly from an accident. At the studio, the producer, Paul Henning, explained the series to me more fully, and for the screen test he said, "We've got a special request." I nodded desperately, hoping I'd be able to remember my recent elocution lessons and theatrical training. "You'd like to read the part," he said, using a southern accent. Couldn't believe it. Camera started rolling, and I read the part in the down-home voice I knew best, my own Louisiana drawl. Producer smiled, and he seemed pleased. Then the smile left his face. "There's one more thing," he said. "Can you milk a goat?" I looked at the side of the set, and sure enough, there was a little nanny goat. One look told me she had the same equipment as cows back home. "Sure I can milk a goat," she said. That nanny goat was the first of more than 500 critters I worked with during my 9 years I played Ellie Mae Clampett on the Beverly Hillbillies. There have been ups and downs in my life, but time and again I found it to be true that if you give God your best, He'll meet you where you are and use whatever you have to offer, even when you can't see what's coming around the corner. I just thought, wow. It's just real close as yesterday's, but yesterday was quite good. But I really love her spirit and her faith. I just think she was a wonderful person. That's all I have for you. Please don't forget about classic rock and country music facts and trivia. Head on over there. The link's in the description below. Need help getting there? Let me know. I'll help you out. No problem. No embarrassment. No trips. No errors. I got that from a commercial somewhere. Anyway. It's a little bit different over there this time. We're on the rock side a little bit. Okay, we're on the rock side a whole lot. So head on over there and see what it's about, because I think you'll enjoy it. It's fun. Have a great day. God bless you. Be praying for you.